All right, hey everyone, welcome back. Get ready, because today we are diving into something pretty wild.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about those voters, the ones who went for, well, both Trump and DAOC in 24.
Now that's a head scratcher.
It really is. I mean, talk about two ends of the political spectrum.
How about that right?
So to try and figure this out, we've got two articles here, one from the Daily Mail, they lean a bit right, and then one from The Guardian, more on the left side. But before we even get started, let me just say, we're not here to tell you who to like or agree with, okay?
Definitely not.
We just want to understand what's going on, why people would make that choice, what's the motivation, what are they thinking?
Well, both these articles, they're coming from different perspectives, right? But they both kind of point to this anti-establishment vibe from these voters.
Okay, anti-establishment, you hear that everywhere these days. But what does it even mean? Like, is it just folks new to politics, or is there something more to it?
It's more than just being new. It's like this whole rejection of how things are, Like the people in charge, they're not really in touch with what everyday folks need. The Guardian, they even quoted some people from the Bronx saying stuff like, they're like a counterbalance, Trump's a bully, she doesn't take it, she's a fighter, she loves democracy.
Whoa, hold on. So they see those two as balancing each other out. That's wild.
Yeah, and they're not just picking AOC because of personality or anything. The Guardian article also mentions that these voters, they're really thinking things through. One person they talked to said, Trump, he was better for the economy and security, but AOC, she was better for democracy.
So it's like strategic voting almost.
Exactly. It's called split ticket voting, where you vote for different parties, not just sticking to one side all the way down the ballot. And this isn't just random historically. Split ticket voting has let people show what they really think about specific issues, the candidates, the whole picture.
Not just voting the party line, then. Now, the Daily Mail, they really focused on economic worries pushing people to Trump. Even some Democrats admitted their parties lost touch with what working-class voters are going through.
Oh, yeah. Some of those quotes were pretty blunt. One congressman, Moskowitz, he said, we're just out of touch with what Americans want.
Yeah.
And then Molden, he went even further, saying, Democrats, they kind of preach down to people. That's not going to win elections.
Wow, they're not holding back. So where does AOC fit into all this? Her policies, they're pretty progressive, left-leaning. Is it just the anti-establishment thing, or is there something about her specifically that connected with those voters?
It's fascinating. The Daily Mail focused on the economic anxieties driving people toward Trump. But The Guardian found those same people really liked AOC's stance on democracy.
So it's not just about money worries. It's about feeling like those in charge don't get your values.
Yeah, and The Guardian had this quote that really stuck out. Someone said, Trump sounds more like you.
Trump sounds more like you. What does that even mean?
I think it comes down to authenticity. Voters want someone who feels real, who gets what they're going through. It's not just about agreeing with their policies, but feeling like they get you on a personal level. Both Trump and AOC have cultivated that image, despite their very different policies.
But is there a downside to all this focus on authenticity and being an outsider? Does it overshadow the actual issues?
That's the big question, right?
Yeah.
Are people overlooking real policy differences for that feeling of connection? We should definitely keep that in mind as we go deeper into that.
For sure. So let's zero in on AOC now. What about her resonated with people? Even those who maybe disagree with her policies, what drew them in?
The Guardian, they pointed out how good she is with social media. She connects with people directly in a way that those more traditional Democrats just don't.
It's like it's not just what she's saying, but how she says it.
Exactly. And she's willing to shake things up, challenge the status quo. Salon even suggested that Democrats need more people like AOC, those charismatic outsider types, if they want to win.
But The Guardian also brought up how her progressive squad didn't do as well as some thought they would in the election. So was her appeal more about her persona and how she communicates, or the actual policies?
That's the key question, right? If it's more about style than substance, what does that tell us about where politics are headed?
Okay, so some people are picking both Trump and AOC, driven by this authenticity thing and rejecting the establishment. But what about those who feel like neither side represents them? The Guardian talked about this guy, Carlos Thomas. He liked parts of both Trump and Harris, but didn't vote at all.
That brings us to the big issue. People not voting and how disillusioned they are with the whole system.
Right, like they don't see the point. So is it just apathy? Or are they looking for something completely different, something not even on the ballot yet?
Makes you think, doesn't it? Are we seeing the old labels,
Yeah.
left versus right, Democrat versus Republican? Like, are they even working anymore?
It feels like the old playbook is outdated, for sure.
Yeah, the articles we're looking at, they suggest things are fragmenting. People are getting their political ideas from all over, not just sticking to one party.
They're picking and choosing based on the candidate, the issue, even just their gut feeling about who seems more real.
Right. And that leads to another question. If both Trump and AOC, in their own ways, are tapping into this need for something different, what is that different? What are these voters really after?
Is it personality, the way they talk? Or are they looking for a total overhaul of how we do government, maybe even moving away from the two-party system altogether?
Million-dollar question. And how do you balance wanting to shake things up with having government that actually works? Could you really disrupt everything and still keep democracy going?
Those are some big questions that are going to be shaping things for a while, I bet. Will the parties adapt? Will we see new movements popping up? Or will people just keep not voting because they're fed up with the choices? It makes me think about those quotes from the Daily Mail, the Democrats saying they're out of touch. Both parties are in trouble if they don't get why people are feeling this anti-establishment way.
Absolutely. If they keep thinking voters will just follow the party line, they're going to lose those who want something more, something that reflects their lives, their worries, their hopes.
It feels like we're at a turning point, you know? The old rules don't apply anymore.
It's exciting, but also kind of scary. The old ways are being challenged, but what's going to replace them? No one knows yet.
Reading all this, it really hits you how important it is for everyone to understand how politics works, to be informed. As voters, we can't just take everything at face value. We got to look deeper, think critically, go beyond the slogans and sound bites and really wrestle with these complicated issues.
I'm with you there. It's about going beyond just picking a side, having real conversations, questioning your own beliefs, listening to people who disagree with you. That's how we break free from this left versus right thing and start talking about what kind of future we want.
And that's what this deep dive is all about, right? Giving you, the listener, the knowledge and insight you need to figure out this crazy political world. We want to make you curious, get you thinking, and encourage you to keep exploring these ideas.
Exactly. The more we talk about these things, the better citizens we become. And in the end, it's those informed citizens who decide where our democracy goes.
So for the last part of our deep dive, let's shift gears a bit. We've been focusing on those who chose both Trump and AOC. But what about the people who aren't voting at all? Is it apathy or something more? Yeah, it's easy to just say they don't care, but I don't know, maybe they feel like neither side really gets them, like the whole system is just not working for them.
That's a good point. And it goes back to what we were saying about feeling anti-establishment. If people feel like the system's broken, it makes sense that some would just check out completely.
Like they're saying, forget this, I'm not playing.
Right, it's a vote of no confidence in the whole thing.
Yeah.
And The Guardian, they pointed out that this feeling, it's especially strong among younger voters.
Yeah, the article mentioned a study. Younger people just aren't trusting those old political institutions. They don't really identify with the parties either.
That's been going on for a while now. Makes you wonder about the future.
Yeah.
If so many people are soon out, how do we fix that? How do we make sure everyone feels like their vote matters?
It's funny, we've been talking about how Trump and AOC both tapped into that need for something different, that rejection of the status quo. But what if their success is actually a sign that something's really wrong? Like the system itself can't keep up with what people want.
It's definitely possible. And if that's true, then just swapping out one group of elites for another, that's not going to solve anything. We need to rethink the whole thing, how to make a system that actually works for everyone.
So, like, what would that even look like? Changing how campaigns are funded, making it easier to vote? Or do we need to go even bigger, like changing the structure of our government?
Big questions. No easy answers. But first, we got to admit there's a problem. Recognize that people feel left out, and then have a real talk about how to fix it.
And that talk, it can't just be the usual suspects. We got to bring in those who feel disillusioned, the ones who've given up on the whole thing.
Exactly. A healthy democracy needs everyone to participate. If we want a future where everyone feels like they have a say, we have to start listening to those who feel ignored.
This deep dive has been wild, hasn't it? We started with this weird voter behavior, choosing both Trump and AOC, and now we're talking about the future of democracy itself.
Shows you how much there is to unpack, right? Even the most unexpected election results can tell us something important about what's going on. Makes you question everything, rethink those old categories, and ultimately understand the world a bit better.
So as we wrap up, here's something to think about. What questions did this deep dive raise for you? What are you taking away from all this?
Because the real takeaway here isn't just what we talked about, but the conversations it starts, the things it makes you think about, and the actions it inspires.
Thanks for coming along on this deep dive with us. Keep exploring these ideas, talk to people about them, and stay curious about this crazy, ever-changing world we live in.